it's ChrystalChyna. And we're back with another Musicology. Let's get it! Before we get into this Musicology, we did want to let you guys know, if you don't know already, that ChrystalChyna is on TikTok. Yes! Under ChrystalChyna Official, you guys can see our vlogs, and you know, we are working on doing mini Musicologies for TikTok as well, so be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, please follow us on TikTok. We want to get our followers up so we can share more with you guys, more information
and more content.
You guys can see more of the everyday life of ChrystalChyna.
Exactly. And getting to know
ChrystalChyna. And also, please be sure to hit that subscribe button while you're at it. You know, while you think about it, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to our channel.
Yes, and of course, we are on Instagram and Twitter as well, and Facebook.
Under at ChrystalChyna.
ChrystalChyna.
It's simple.
Hit us up. We want to hear from you guys. We want to talk to you guys. Please hit us up. Let's get into this Musicology. So this Musicology was highly requested. Like, literally, since we started doing these videos, this person was at the top of our, not only our list, but our requests. So I'm very excited. I know Chyna is excited to be doing this one. So we gotta do our infamous drum roll. So let's do it.
1, 2, 3.
Patrice Rushen. Let's get it. Patrice was born on September 30th, 1954 in Los Angeles, California. She is a Libra, and we are Libras. And not only is she a Libra, which is why this is so close to my heart, she is a real LA girl.
Period.
Like she is like us. Exactly. How
I relate. I too relate.
So Patrice, she took a strong liking to music very early in her life. Starting as young as 3 years old, she began taking piano lessons when she was 3 years old, and she was enrolled at USC for formal lessons. So that is like some heavy hitter stuff.
That's something to keep in mind, because USC has followed her entire life.
She has a lifelong association with USC. This little black girl at this time, like, that is so prestigious, and it still is today, but that was extremely prestigious back then.
In the 50s.
In the 50s. And for her to be this little child prodigy learning so early, this is what's gonna follow for the rest of her life and the rest of her career.
Patrice was under an intensive regime since she was a child, studying piano, musical theory, but she still did not have a desire to study at a conservatory or to even become like a concert pianist. She just didn't feel like she had the discipline, nor did she really have the desire at that time.
Which is understandable.
That's understandable, but you know, her talent spoke for itself.
Right. So in 1972, during her senior year at Locke High School, so LA.
If you're from LA, you know
you already know. She made her debut as a soloist, a composer, and arranger with the Musicology workshop as a farewell project for her senior class. Prior to Patrice's high school graduation, she did start working as a session musician to help fund her college education.
At USC.
At USC.
That same year, Patrice performed at the 1972 Monterey Jazz Festival. And there, she won the solo competition for young artists. So she was already graduating high school. She was already about to attend USC. And she had just won this competition that was starting to open doors for her as an actual artist, per se.
So shortly after high school, she subsequently signed to the Prestige label, and that's where she released her debut album, Prelusion, in 1974.
While signed to Prestige, Patrice was a double major at USC, studying piano performance and musical education. So she was signed,
period,
and still pursuing her degree.
It's possible.
It is possible now.
Exactly.
And she ended up obtaining her degree in 1976.
Period.
Double major and signed and making music and working as a session musician still. Come on.
It's possible.
It is possible. Dang.
It's possible.
Wait, the pressure is getting what's up.
Her work on Prestige consisted of still her earthy instrumentals, like her jazz instrumentals, but her 1976 Shout It Out album, she had a song called Let There Be Funk, which had her, like, you know, showcase her R&B elements. And that's where, I guess you can say, ushered in her sound. Patrice, in her, like, her discography, like, her sound touches on both angles, which like makes her, it taps on each angle. It is funky, it is soul, it is R&B, but it's earthy, but it has that jazz element, which, you know, it brings it together so beautifully. So I guess, you know, with her song Let There Be Funk, that ushered in, like, where she's showcasing her stamp on R&B, like the R&B sound. So Patrice, she followed her Shout It Out album with her self-titled album, Patrice, in 1978.
Her self-titled album, Patrice, was actually her first album with Elektra since leaving Prestige. So Prestige, that's where she did her earliest works.
Right.
But now she was back with something new and a new album, self-titled album.
A new sound
with Elektra.
Patrice followed her self-titled album with Pizzazz back in 1979, and this included the hit song, Haven't You Heard? That is our jam. That is like one of my wake-up jams. I love that song, and that song, because of that song, it definitely marked, like, that was her official leap and stamp into the R&B world. Haven't You Heard earned her the 7th spot on the US R&B charts, and she was on the top 30 list for US pop charts. Come on. Yeah, she was climbing.
I've been looking for you. Haven't you heard? Da, 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 da. I've been looking for you. Haven't you heard? Yeah. So after Patrice established her spot in the R&B world, she released a third album with Elektra titled Posh. And Posh, you know, it spawned a few singles, but it was not until 1982 that it really set it off.
Yeah.
And that is when Patrice released Straight from the Heart in 1982.
And y'all already
know that has some of everybody's favorites. I'm talking about Forget Me Nots. Okay. Forget Me Nots. When I tell you, see, it's like Crystal and I grew up in the 80s or something, and we literally grew up in the 2000s. But if you are from LA, you know what KJLH is.
Right.
You know, the radio station KJLH.
They used to have the same playlist for years.
Literally. So when by the time Crystal and I would be getting out of school, Lon McHugh would be on, and then he would be playing Forget Me Nots. That's like one of the songs that I always knew.
Right. And I remember like being like 3 and 4 years old and not being able to put like a timestamp on it because it sounded so timeless. Right. It still sounded brand new at that time. We love that song.
I love that song.
Singing you forget me nots to help you to remember. Baby, please forgive me not.
Hey.
I want you to remember. Sending you forgive me nots to help you to remember. Baby, please forgive me not. I want you to remember.
My part, hold on.
Was it the simple things that made me so crazy about you? Was it your charm or your passion? Now I do believe I want you and I need you, so I sending you forgiving notes. Want you to remember. Baby, please forgive me notes. I want you to remember.
A bop. I love that song.
Too soon. Maybe we needed just a little room. Wondering how it all happened.
Ooh. Oh my God. So
smooth. I need you so high.
You can go on and on and on. I love that
is
song.
Jam.
Like that stays in your head. It just sticks with you. Like, I can pinpoint certain points in my childhood when that song was playing consistently. And that song at that time was almost 20 years old.
Right.
You know what I mean? But still,
timeless.
They
don't do that no more.
They don't.
Forget Me Nots was a huge single, as you can tell. You see how we just went on and on and on and on because that song is so infectious, and yeah, so you can imagine how that was in the early 80s. But this was such a major move for her that it scored her first 2 nominations at the 1983 Grammy Awards. The first being for Best Female R&B Vocal Performance for Forget Me Nots. The second being for Best R&B Instrumental Performance for another single off the album called Number One.
This time, Patrice was seeing big success. And also on that same album, she did have another single called You Remind Me. That single was overshadowed by Forget Me Nots, but it did later on, you know, go down and be sampled many, many, many times by other R&B artists and hip hop artists specifically.
Yes.
And I love that one.
You remind me. Yeah, yeah. I'm lucky I'm falling in love with you, darling. You remind me. Yeah, yeah. I'm lucky I'm falling in love with you, darling.
Yes.
That's my morning song.
Some of, most famously, a lot of the songs, like the R&B hip hop songs in the 90s, sampled that song particularly a lot,
right?
Including, like, you know, Mary J. Blige, her debut album, she had a separate album, I guess, for all of her remixes. So, like, one of them was You Remind Me.
You know that you remind me of a love that I once knew. Yes, you do. Oh.
Yeah, that's my
Patrice.
jam.
She got that from Patrice.
Exactly.
Okay? Patrice. She got that from her. Or even with Junior Mafia,
I wonder if I take you home, would you still be in love, baby? Because I need you tonight.
even though they took that from Lisa Quote Jam, the still the melody as a
the song
in general is taken from
You Remind
Patrice.
Me.
You Remind Me.
Right.
So, yeah, Patrice is all up and through hip hop.
Right, definitely.
Yeah, Shaolin style sample "Settle for My
Shaheem.
Love" by Shaheem. So, like, she's all up and through hip hop because she came out in a time where a lot of people were starting to sample, even though her music at that time was not even old. It was literally within the same decade,
right,
as, you know, rappers who were rapping in the 80s that were starting to use samples.
But because I think it's also because she has that jazz influence in her music, a lot of the birthing of hip hop had a lot of early jazz elements, and that's what I think.
Yeah.
So I think that's why, even though it wasn't a far gap into them sampling her, you know, they didn't really dig that deep, you know, like years prior, but they still dug deep enough because her elements have that jazz element to her music.
Right.
So it added that, you know.
Patrice went on to release Now, which would be her last album with Elektra. On that album Now, it actually included one of our favorites.
Yes.
To Each His Own.
To each his own.
That's my jam. You know, Patrice also makes good morning music.
Yes, she does.
She really does. Good waking up music. Like, I'm about to get it today.
Yeah. So back in 1987, after her departure from Elektra, she did go ahead and release an album called Watch Out on the Arista label, and those singles that were on that album included All My Love and Come Back to Me. So during the last part of the 80s, Patrice's career did get a little bit more sporadic. She was still doing like joint albums and collaborations with other musicians, but she did shift her focus more into like musical direction, as well as arranging still, and film and television, as well as education. I mean, she did, and she was the musical director for Janet Jackson's World Tour, Janet. Okay, period.
Patrice did return to a solo career when she released her 1997 signature album, which actually garnered her a Grammy nomination for the Best Contemporary Jazz Performance category.
So she went back to her roots with the signature album, her jazz roots.
Patrice still went on to continue to do musical directing. She actually is the first woman, period. To be a musical director for the Grammys. So not the first Black woman, not just she's the first woman to be the musical director for the Grammys. Also, I want to put it out there that
I know that maybe a lot of people
don't know this. I just feel like people should know this because
tell it.
First of all, like we were already talking about, Patrice was beautiful, educated, smart, and she was a musician. It's not like she could just sing. Oh, I can sing and dance, No, she could sing, she could perform, and she could actually arrange music and play music. So that is what Prince was attracted to. Just put that out there. Prince had a crush on her, and it is rumored that I Want to Be Your Lover is about Patrice. So
I could believe that.
Because
she's fire.
She's fire. Are you kidding? Smart, beautiful, talented. Like, it can't get no better. So I can understand why Prince was infatuated by her. I just wanted to put that out there. Like, Patrice is that girl.
Exactly.
Period. Still to this day. And to this day, Patrice is still involved with USC. Like we were saying, how everything, she's had a lifelong association with USC. So she was a toddler. So her being in her 60s now, she still is associated with USC and their music programs as well. Patrice actually still serves as chair for the Thornton School of Music's popular music program. So she is still very active.
With USC. Also mentoring young musicians like herself. So she still is out there and she still is arranging and composing. And we just love Miss Patrice so much because, like we were saying, from an early age, her music is one of our earliest memories. So I literally feel at home, and it's a cozy feeling whenever I hear, especially like Forget Me Nots. Whenever I hear her music, I feel so warm and close to my childhood. And I will forever be grateful for her as a musician, as a woman, as a smart and educated person. And I adore, and I know Chyna can say the same, we adore her.
Her being from LA, her being so enamored in music and her love of music that has continued on into her adulthood, into her years as an artist, period. That's important to us, and that's what we love to see, because you don't really get to see that nowadays, where people are still working, people are still doing what they love because they actually love it, not because they have to do it because they got to pay some bills. She does it because she actually loves it, and she wants to continue her legacy by continuing to mentor a lot of students at USC or however she wants to do it. But that was our musicology on Miss Patrice Rushen. Put some respect on her name, because there is no other.
And there will never be.
Thank you guys for watching. If you guys like this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And please don't forget to follow us on TikTok.
And let us know who else y'all want to hear.
Please put in the comment box who you guys want to see next. We are going through every request.
And follow us on TikTok at ChrystalChyna Official, Instagram at ChrystalChyna, Twitter at ChrystalChyna, as well as Facebook at ChrystalChyna. We want to hear from you guys. We want to talk to you guys. We love you guys so much. Until the next video.
Bye.